So working with grief, the biggest thing is to give yourself space to be with what is and to notice the stories, the resistance, the meaning, all of those layers that arise, and to just keep coming back and allowing yourself to feel the grief directly, purely. And everyone will have a different capacity or skill level around being able to do that. So when it comes to creating a grief ceremony or a grief ritual, again, it's very personal in terms of what is it, the question to ask when you go to create a ceremony or a ritual, what do I need to allow myself to feel safe enough to feel the depths of this grief in the moment, right? So the purpose of the ritual, the ceremony, is to create a safe container that generates the conditions that make it more easeful and even more joyful to be with the grief as it arises, right? So what that is could be is different for everybody. It might mean bringing in another human who can hold the space. For example, a grief doula, you could say, right? Because it could be a sense of like, I really want to have someone there who can just rub my back as I go into the depths of this grief, right? So that's a question to ask is like, if I create a ceremony to fully feel this grief, do I want to have another human in the space? And then just being aware of what your own tendencies might be around not feeling things and the kind of practices that support you to heal things. So do you do the ritual in water? Do you do it in a bath? You know, is that easy for you to feel emotion in that space? Do you do it on your yoga mat? What kind of altar do you create? Do you work with any kind of music? Do you journal? Do you have an item related to what it is that you're grieving? Do you write a letter to whatever it is or whoever it is that you're grieving? So it is a very personal thing, remembering that the overall intention is to create the space that allows you to feel safe enough to fully be with what's there. And in feeling the grief of something, we're also celebrating our love for it and all of the gifts that it brought to us as well. So in terms of like a little run sheet, the grief ritual run sheet, you might come in and drop in, say some prayers and set up the space, right? You might set an intention. So drop in space, prayers, invocation, set an intention, and then go into whatever practice you're using to alchemize, be present with the grief, whether it could be dance, it could be breath work, it could be meditation, it could be journaling. Go into that and allow it to pour through. And in that, the biggest part of the practice is to simply keep meeting it directly. And you might want to jot down or notice resistances or stories or narratives or meanings that arise and just take note, just acknowledge them, just take note of them, right? You know, and then at some point, there'll be a natural sense of coming toward the end of the bulk of it, of feeling as much as possible. And when that starts to happen, allowing time to really to ground and to share some gratitude, appreciation, to celebrate yourself for doing that. At any point, you can call in any kind of being on the ether to support you. And then when you're ready to close, same thing, and like coming back into that dropped in space and kind of like doing it in reverse, like saying a prayer, invocation, and dissolving anything you've set up for the container of the ceremony. You know, blowing out the altar, the candle on the altar. And there may, as part of it too, there may be a burning up of something that might have happened in the main bit, or there might be a sense of, you know, if you're doing this ritual in your home, you might have something you take from the ceremony that you then offer into the river or into the ocean, or so that's part of the ceremony. You know, you complete the ceremony in place, and then later that day or that week, you go and you offer to the earth, and that's the sort of completion of it. So that's one way that you could do it. And the benefit of this is that you're giving permission to yourself to fully feel what is directly there. And you're creating the space that allows that to happen with more ease. And if it's something big that's happened, you may find that you want to do this. Sometimes it could be every day, and it could be a really simplified ritual. You're just like, half an hour a day, I'm just going to sit in front of my altar and give myself permission to feel all the feels and be with this. And remembering that digesting emotion, the critical thing is to stay out of the story, the narrative, the resistance, the meaning, right? When that arises, acknowledge it, come back to directly feeling what's present. So sometimes there's one big ritual, sometimes there's lots of little ones. You just figure out what is needed, what is needed, what is needed. Recognizing that when we go in and deeply, deeply meet something fully, it's extraordinary how fast we can actually digest it and move through it. And it doesn't mean we love the person or the place or the whatever it was any less if we discover we're able to be fully with the grief within a short time period and just come to an incredible place of ease and acceptance and delight and joy. So that's how I would suggest one way to work with grief within ritual and ceremony.